All right, everybody, we are going to go ahead and kick this call off. The first thing I want you to do while I'm reading this income and risk disclosure that I need to read all of you. It's very important that we do that at the beginning of each and every single call. The first thing I'd love for you guys to do is go ahead in the chat and let me know the highest drawdown you saw this week, as well as the profit you saw this week. I know it was an extremely slow week in the markets, but I want to have a gauge of what's going on for our customers, the experience you guys are having, so that I know how to best address everybody this week. Because we can look at my accounts all day long, but I love to look also at what customers are doing, right? Because customers do a little bit different things sometimes. They customize some things, as they should. That's what GearBox was designed for. So go ahead, let us know in the chat box the profit you made this week, if any, and what drawdown you experienced this week, if any, and let me know so that I have an idea on how to go along with this call and best help you guys for the weeks ahead, as it is a lower liquidity market right now. And by lower liquidity market, I mean that the market's kind of slow and sometimes trending in one direction. There's not a lot of volume. The market can get kind of boring in the months of November and December, and most traders know that. But going into January, things pick back up. So let's go ahead. And first thing I need to go ahead and do is read you guys this income disclosure. So with that being said, trading or using Forex analyst tools and software to assist you in trading carries a high level of risk. Only trade with capital you can afford to lose. The information contained in this presentation is for informational purposes only. One should evaluate their risk tolerance and personal financial situation before trading. If ever in doubt, please consult your own personal licensed financial advisor. Auvoria Prime LLC is not providing investment advice, as all trade opportunity alerts are delivered to all participants uniformly without regard to an individual's trade objectives, financial condition, or suitability. Unless a user has made a customized alert option privately on their own account to further analyze their own trade opportunities, these options, again, are at full discretion of the user, meaning that you are in full control. Auvoria Prime LLC does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every single trade. Now, I'm going to get here into the chats and see what's going on. I see we saw somebody said they did 0.7%. Andy here said 0.7% profit on the week. I have no open trades, but 0.7% profit. Pretty awesome on a very slow week in the market. I see Robert Wallace said he's in 20% drawdown on just Euro JPY and Euro USD only positions. I got some great news for you on this call, Robert. So I'm excited to share that with you. Arthur said starting GearBox next week. Awesome. It's going to be a great week to start. Mariska said her profit here has been a little less than 1%. Her max DD was 20%, trading swing settings with max 4 pairs, and that NZD still is the party pooper. NZD JPY is still the party pooper. Yep, I have that going on one of my accounts we're going to talk about today too. Bojan, 1.22% locked in, 1.2% drawdown, 4-hour sniper. That's awesome, and double take profit. So let's go ahead and get into it. And with that being said, we're going to first start off. Let me pull up my other screen here. And we're going to go into the one pair data. And I want to talk a little bit about this data because we're going to be increasing some entries on the strategies. So what previously might have been swing on some of these pairs is going to be moved. We're going to be moving many of these entries, and I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. So the first thing I want you to do is look, these are $500 live accounts, and these $500 live accounts are running on many of these different currency pairs here. And what I look for is if on one single currency pair by itself, it ever gets in 20% drawdown, I'm going to look to increase those entries. So I looked around and I looked at NZD JPY and I said, we should probably increase that entry +2 on swing, sniper, all of them, right? And I'll go over exactly what that means in a minute. Euro JPY, I said the same exact thing. I said the same thing about AUD CAD, same thing about AUD JPY and AUD USD. I said, okay, these are trending more than they normally ever have. If we're going to take a trade on them because of what we've seen, we should increase our precision of entry. to make it where we get into a much more accurate trade. So what do I exactly mean by this? I'm going to give you guys this example here. All right. So these are some of the pairs. I also am going to add some pairs because I see people are trading them, and currently it does not put anything but default settings on them. And what I mean is also add all existing GBP pairs with GBP settings that we don't already have programmed in. GBP CHF, Euro JPY, or GBP, I mean, Euro GBP. We're going to add in all those as well with program settings here. Sorry that this is all spelled wrong. This is a copy and paste from talking to my programmer quickly. But this is the entries that we're going to go ahead and basically increase. So, on each of these pairs, I said, okay, swing, sniper, super sniper, all of them need to increase by 1. So in this example, if it's currently 2 and 3, it's going to be 3 and 4 now, right? Or AED JPY, I said +2 entry. That means if it was 2 and 3, it's now going to be 4 and 5, who are in your gears above settings. So I wanted to increase that. I'm going to come out with a new color coordinated chart, but these are going to be programmed into the newest updated Gearbox Manager that I'm hoping to have out for you guys maybe by the end of today. So that'll be super exciting. But that is a big thing, right? I want to increase that precision on some of these pairs that maybe they're just not performing as well as they should. Now, when we look at some of this data again, some of the best pairs still performing actually are the GBP pairs. You have your GBP USD, your GBP AUD. You have some of these that are they've been actually performing the best with the Gearbox strategy. And, somebody might say, well, why is that? And the first thing I can say is considerably, since they move more and you're getting in a later entry, you're looking to secure more pips typically, especially if you're using Ghost plus Real, and typically going for a larger move, which ultimately means the GBP pairs are going to typically be more profitable when you do secure a trade on them. So for somebody might even say, you know what, I'm just going to run only the GBP pairs. With the way they've been performing, honestly, I'm probably going to start an account that only runs GBP pairs and see, exactly how that goes, because the data continues to suggest that it's doing well. Now, keep in mind, I am still increasing these swing entries, even though they have done well. I still think that at least in the sake of GBP USD, it needed to go up 1. And still, I think with AUD and NZD, even though the drawdown still stayed a little lower, +1 would never hurt, especially on swing or sniper for some of these pairs. Now, you look though, like I said, Euro JPY, that had to be increased, and so did Euro USD as well, right? So we went ahead and we're making those updates to the manager. Now, if we go take a peek, and again, this can kind of tell you the experience. These are $500 accounts, again, just each running each of these pairs individually so that we can get as much data as possible on the experience. Now, if we go into some of my 25 pair accounts we have running here, you'll see I ran into some trouble on 2 of these, and these actually got stuck in a lot of USD stuff. And, we hit some stop losses. We got out of some trades. We've kept our drawdown below a threshold, which, this is, again, why I like stop losses. Some people aren't a big fan of stop losses, but for me, if it's going to happen, I'd rather take a loss than get into higher drawdown because you can always make more profit. So, for example, this account, yeah, it took some losses, but nothing too crazy. It was up 23%, it's down to 14%, but we haven't increased our drawdown. Even 30% on that account, I'm not very happy with. I'm not a fan of that. And that's, again, why I said, hey, we need to increase these entries all around in some of these pairs. I started seeing what was going on the past 2 months. Even though the markets are slower, they have been trending more in one direction. A lot of the pairs that are giving people problems are currently the USD pairs, which is why in my past few, telegrams, I've said, hey, maybe a better idea to try to get out of some of the USD pairs because they are, causing a little more chaos right now. There's a lot more uncertainty around the US dollar than ever. And because of that, I think that maybe eliminating USD pairs for the time being could also be a good option. If not, just increase your entries, right? Which is why I said here, let's go ahead and increase these entries, at least on some of these ones, AUD USD +2, AUD JPY +2, right? NZD JPY needed that. NZD USD needed this. Euro and, these ones at least +1. But just increasing the entries all around just is going to continue to decrease your risk, increase your profitability, and, make it less likely for you to get into a possibly bad trade. And that's what's so powerful about GearBox. If you ever see a time where you're like, you know what, I've been in the sequence too long, I'm unhappy with my drawdown, bump up your entries on that pair, right? Maybe that entry is too soon. Or maybe you're on swing settings and you're like, okay, even though swing, is crushing it on many accounts, right? In fact, some of my swing accounts have been performing better than my sniper recently. You'll see I got into my highest drawdown. Is actually very upsetting to me. And this account, it had not had 5% drawdown until NZD JPY. And I've been in actually AUD JPY and NZD JPY and AUD USD on this account right now. And for me, I'm okay with it because I know that looking at the market when these swing, it's going to make a ton of profit. And, it's just been a period of consolidation and no fun in the market. But again, let's increase our entries. Let's not even put ourselves in a situation like that. Or you might take a look at my swing GearBox here, that this thing's been running and is up almost, 60+% now and stayed in minimal drawdown. But it's entering earlier than sniper. But what's the difference? This one didn't get into the same trades. And this is, again, why I've advocated on some of these calls about our max pairs setting. And why I'm such a fan of it is you're inherently decreasing your risk, because somebody might get into one pair that it just goes and trends for a while and they get stuck in it, like I did on my 40K. Or somebody might get into a swing here that it just keeps making money. It's doing its thing all through December, making profit, right? And having a great time. So it all depends on your strategy, what you're doing. But again, the goal is, if you ever get into a period where you're a little uncomfortable with your DD, you're like, this is higher DD than I like, go ahead and just look at the pairs that are giving you that problem and say, let's increase our gears entry setting on these. Let's make it less likely that I ever end up in a situation like this. And that's really one of the big important pieces. Now let me get into the chat. I want to take a peek here. I see, yep, Jackie here said she's still stuck in some NZD with continued rise and cross. And she said, sorry, NZD USD specifically. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm hardcore in NZD USD on one of my accounts as well. Like I said, these USD pairs right now are looking more like they should be eliminated for the time being, with a lot of the uncertainty around the US, which is crazy because a lot of people originally thought, hey, let's just trade the 7 4x majors. But at least with these entry settings, these pairs are now trending more than they typically ever have. And because of that, maybe best to either eliminate or increase those entries. I'm getting into the Q&A here. And I see CJ said, Happy New Year, but mine and my TPs are still not correct. Yeah, we are aware that some people are experiencing this. And what this is that there are times that people on real trades only are getting 7 pips and double TP are only getting 14 pips. We have been made aware of this, and we have an update that we're looking to possibly push out today. We're still doing some testing. We've been testing it all week, confirming that it does 30 and 60 pip take profits on the first real market entry trade. So we are working on that. Ivan here said that he has 2 open positions in AUD CAD Super Sniper settings, waiting on them to turn around. That's awesome. Yep, AUD CAD. That's another one of those ones that we saw was just consolidating. And yes, we will send a new table with new entries. Badar said, how about FTMO settings? To be honest, Badar, I have not been playing with FTMO much because there's still a lot of rules. I guess you can't hold trades over the weekend, a ton of different things. And some of those things just might not fit the GearBox strategy necessarily. I'm sure there's definitely ways to do it, but I still have to play around more and find something before I give anybody anything to play around. Brent, great question. He said, can we go under the common tab and click long positions only or short positions only in order to mitigate our risk in trending markets? Brent, that is actually a great idea. You can do that. A lot of times what you'll notice. And for those of you who are wondering what he's exactly doing, give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my VPS and just give you guys an example of what he is asking here. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again here. All right. So what he's saying is under the comment tab here, you'll see that there's only long and only short. So maybe, for the example of myself on my larger account here, where is that one? We'll take a peek. One of these guys here we are. I think this is the 50. It is. All right. When you take a look at one of these larger accounts, what he basically is saying is you would go in and you would look at those exact same options here, and you would want to either enable only long or only short. And what would happen then is the software would only take the positions that trigger that way. Now, oftentimes it may not take a trade right away. So if you want to trigger it to immediately take a trade in the direction you're trying to force it to, you're going to want to have to toggle the time frames back and forth. So essentially, if you were, in my case, here on this account, we see that I'm in some AUD USD and stuff like that, or NZD USD. We can see real good in this account here. Maybe I wanted to go on NZD USD right now and say I want to buy, and force it to start buying. I could essentially do that same exact thing. Now the problem is, again, it's still not going to immediately take a trade depending on your gear entry settings. So you'd have to be a much more advanced user. If you're trying to make the software mitigate risk and hedge for you, you would have to force it in only one way, and then you would have to put into your settings the -1 entry, only gears above -1, and then toggle it back and forth, and you'd be able to force an entry. But yes, Brent, to answer your question, that is totally doable, and that's how you would do it. And if that sounded like too confusing to you, that's a more hands-on technique that somebody asked about, and it may not be relevant for you. Super Sniper ineffective on daily time frame. Omar said, well, I wouldn't say ineffective. Omar, I would say that Super Sniper takes a lot of movement in the same week to trigger an entry. And typically there's not that much move, especially in a month like November or December. There hasn't been a lot of movement in a week since the Ghost Gear is reset every week by default. Super Sniper kind of, it takes a lot of movement in the same week. So yes, if you were to increase it to a lower time frame, there is a possibility you get into trade sooner. Absolutely. There's also more likelihood that the software is playing both sides of the market, which means you're more likely to also get into trades using that. So yeah, Super Sniper on a lower time frame is definitely possibly more effective if you're looking to get more trades. Get here back into the Q&A. Anonymous attendee said, "Hi, I'm new and I just got into this December with $250. What's the average profit with a relatively conservative trader?" Anonymous attendee, I don't want to break your heart, but it typically isn't likely with a $250 account and conservative settings to make your monthly back. You'll see I have a 250 and a 500 here. If we take a look at my 500, it's not, it hasn't been paying the monthly necessarily, but it's gotten close, right? We'll look, and we've been running we started August 3rd. So we've ran through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. And in 5 months, we've made 278 euros, which might be like $350. So it gets close with conservative settings on a $500 account. On a 250, it's definitely not going to cover the monthly with conservative settings by any means. It's more powerful just to see that it's possible to use a small account with the software to build people's belief. But really, ideally, $1,000 is key with using any strategy like GearBox. But it does work on 250. It does work on 500, and with a $500 account and some increased risk, maybe a little more risk than I'm even running on this account, it could definitely be, possibly covering a monthly with solid sniper entries and doing things like that. But again, I can't make any guarantees. I'm just telling you based on data and personal experience what it's looking like, so that you can have your best feel and understanding as well. I see Urban said, I have for a while max pairs set to 6. It only trades 4 max pairs at the same time, even when there are conditions for getting in more trades. As soon as I close one pair manually, it opens another, where it hits TP and opens another. That happens several times. That's an interesting one, Urban. I'm gonna take a look at that. That doesn't make much sense to me. I'll take a look at your username and pull up the logs so I can see what's going on there. That's the first time anyone's reported any issues with the max pairs feature. So I will investigate that one immediately so that I can get an answer and see what's going on there. So thank you for that, Urban. But with that being said, I'll give you guys some time to come up with some more questions. I'm going to go ahead, though, and pull up Forex Factory. We're going to take a look at the next week ahead and see, how we're feeling, what it's looking like. Again, it is slower in the markets until typically January 10th. That's when you'll see a lot more liquidity pick back up. But let's just go to Forex Factory here. And what we're going to do, again, you guys can remember, always use Forex Factory. It's a great tool. We're going to go ahead and put the begin date, take a look here. We'll take a look from Sunday all the way to Saturday of next week. And let's just see what we have going on. And you'll see that on Monday, this is actually a big one. You'll see that we have the OPEC meetings. This is a red folder news event that can typically make some movements in the market. Sometimes it does nothing, but it has historically shown that there are times that it does create some volatility in the marketplace. So with that being said, maybe look out for that right in the entry into Monday. And then the rest of the week, we'll go through. We'll see. We have one GBP event on Wednesday. Nothing too crazy. But we will see Wednesday. We have FOMC meeting minutes, USD. This is going to be a big one for many of us stuck in USD pairs. So we'll want to pay attention to this, especially. And then we will see that it is NFP on Friday. So it is looking like one of those weeks that definitely has some volatility. Now, for those of you who know, typically GearBox plays very well in volatility. The only time it doesn't play well in volatility is if it gets stuck in a trend where it got in an entry too soon, and that trend just goes on and goes on and goes on and gets stuck in a consolidation or a short ranging market where it doesn't get enough retracement to get out. And that consolidation is what GearBox doesn't like, but GearBox can handle, right? But volatility, where the market moves back and forth rapidly, which normally a lot of EAs trip out with, is where GearBox performs its best. So these events could be great. And hopefully, I would say that some of these events could possibly, be what we've been waiting for to get a little more movement back in the market for some of you that are in some of those consolidating periods on some of the USD pairs and different things like that. So big week ahead. But definitely a week of volatility, and a week that you might want to play it a little more conservative since there is still lower liquidity in the marketplace. Ivan said, I think my take profits are not right. Ivan, we are aware of some take profit bugs with 7 or 14 pip take profits. We mentioned it earlier in the call. We are working on rolling out an update, hopefully maybe even today. We still have some more testing to do before market close to confirm and sign off. Before we push an update out to the entire company. We have some strict quality assurance protocols we go through before we roll out updates nowadays to make sure that everything's perfect and that there's no last minute surprises. Because again, it is our responsibility to make sure that the products are up to the standards of all the customers using them, especially being that many customers are using live balances on all of our products here. So, we take it very seriously. Um, but with that being said, I'm not seeing any new questions, so I'll give you guys a minute or two to come up with some more questions here. I'm going to go back to some data, also pull back up everything here that we had talked about. Um, I just want to leave this data here so people can see. Again, this is what the new manager updates are going to be to the entries that I was showing here in the notepad. So you'll see the entries here. And then let me get back into the Q&A. Okay, I see some good questions. Ronald said he started GearBox last week with Super Sniper. No trades given as expected. Would you suggest one more week before changing over to Sniper? He said, thanks, great call. Ronald, I'd say with Super Sniper right now, again, it's really there to help you get a much more precise and accurate entry, being that there's lower liquidity. But yeah, it is very unlikely, especially last week at least, to get a trade. Going back into the new year, the liquidity picks up, but doesn't really pick up until like January 10th or so. But I would say possibly use even Sniper this week if you wanted. But again, Super is a great strategy. And maybe if you want to possibly get more trades with Super Sniper, go ahead and use a lower time frame as well. Brent, I see what you are saying, and we believe in the next update with the take profits. It's not that they make them more conservative; it's more the cost averages seem that way. Ghost plus real strategy does exactly this. Brent, where the TPs, don't seem as far away because they are the same as what they would have been in that case that you're referring to. Whereas double and real only are also going to go for that set amount. So it should do exactly the same thing that you're referring to. Now, it maybe is acting a little different right now with some of the different people experiencing 7 or 14 pip take profits and some who aren't. We have seen that, and we believe that we have that fixed in our next update here. So that'll be exciting. But yeah, that is essentially what GearBox should already do. Awesome. Well, I don't see any more questions from you guys. So again, know that I'm working to get a new manager update out with these updated entries. I'm working to get a GearBox update out that does address many things, which I will put into a change log when we roll it out for many different things we had seen in the past. As well, we are working on a much more optimized experience for GearBox to run much faster on the current VPS. That won't be in the next update, but I can tell you we're testing. I see some people said in the Q&A there's some new questions. Okay, I see we got some more questions in the Q&A. Awesome. Well, we're going to go into those in a minute. Let's see what we have here. Zen Trader said he had a single entry on GBP USD a few weeks back, a sell, and I'm closing out at a 1,200 profit, which was crazy amazing. But on the other hand, single entries are only going for about 300 with gears 4 and 5. Is that because the gear on GU is 5 instead of 3? Zen Trader, that is exactly why, actually. So the higher the entry, when you are especially using Ghost plus Real, if you're using the Ghost plus Real take profit strategy, Zen Trader, then yes, the higher level entry means that there's going to be more profit. So sometimes I see people reporting, I don't think my take profits are correct. And I look at their accounts and they actually are. On many accounts, the difference is they see some trades closing for more than others, but the difference is some pairs have a higher entry than the others, right? So for example, a GBP trade, you entered on a gear 5 instead of a 3. Well, that's 2 more levels of, basically trades you didn't get into, but you're still calculating the profit for. So that's exactly why, actually. CJ Noakes and the new manager update will be able to set real TP only. Not in the next update, but one of the next ones coming after that. We actually, CJ, are looking to have every single setting that's within the gearbox itself in the manager. So you'll be able to literally customize all of them on the jump. We've had a lot of requests for that. We are playing with that too. Like I said, we have a lot of exciting things coming to Gearbox over this first month of January. So we're looking to roll out manager updates, optimization updates, continue to just enhance, make it faster, better, and a more robust product all around with an easier user experience. So that is on the top of our list. Zentrader said, also noticing that whenever you do Gearbox updates, it scrambles the order of the tabs on the bottom of my MT4. I have to delete all of them, start from scratch. Is it possible to find a fix for this? I don't know what you mean by scrambles the order of the tabs in the bottom. You're gonna, I'm not understanding that one. You're gonna have to give me an example because the only thing I've ever seen is on a reboot, the charts maybe aren't all right next to each other, but there's one button, where you hit this and it organizes them all for you. So like, let's say I made these all a mess. I literally would just hit this button and it put them all on a pretty display here. But yeah, I'm not sure what you meant by get your tabs all disorganized. So I don't know what you mean by develop a fix for that because I don't actually understand the problem. There's Zentrader. Meaning alphabetical order. If there's some, I don't know what that means either. That's going to be an MT4 thing, not a Gearbox thing. As MT4 is what organizes that, not Gearbox. So that would be an MT4 thing, which means there's probably not a fix for it. Can you show what you meant about getting into Super Sniper at an earlier time frame? Did you mean a lower gear? No, Ronald, I didn't mean a lower gear. I meant because of the way Gearbox works is there's times where you might be in a trade on a gear 3, buy, but you're in a, you're not in a trade at all in a sell. Whereas when you play a lower time frame, the software is more likely to hedge both sides of the market. So you're actually playing both sides of the ghost gears, which means any movement might trigger your trades. Oftentimes I see people say, hey, I'm supposed to enter on a gear 3. The market opened up and I see this pair moved 160 pips and I didn't take a trade. Why? And the answer was, well, in that case, Gearbox actually was on the right side of the trades in the ghost market, meaning that it didn't get into the potential drawdown in the ghost market, which triggered your trade. Whereas if you play on a lower time frame, it's more likely to play both sides of the market, which means that it's more likely to get into a trade anytime movements happen that would have triggered your gear entry settings. So I hope that answered that question and gave you a little clarity there. Martin said some pairs stall at -1 for the whole week. What is the reason for that and is being worked on? Martin, what we've seen is this is something with the VPS and the freezing, and this is why we've been working hard on optimizing Gearbox to run faster and more efficiently. Because since we use so many charts on Gearbox, anytime you have so many charts open on a VPS, it's sometimes going to cause some delays and things like that. So we have some updates and enhancements we've been working on to the Gearbox to really optimize how it runs on so many charts at once so that it doesn't bog down or slow down the VPS and occasionally have that issue, Martin. Brent asked, do you low-key run Gearbox in pairs other than the 25 you have up? Gold, indices, crypto? Brent, I have not played with them, to be honest, in a long time. When I first started developing Gearbox over a year ago, I played a lot with US 30, gold, indices, but I stopped playing with them because I really just wanted to perfect what we already had data on, perfect, what we're still perfecting here. But I will tell you, I am going to begin a lot of new testing on gold indices, not necessarily crypto right now, as crypto, again, it's not as market structure oriented right now. And because of that, I don't think Gearbox on crypto is really going to be as predictable. But with gold and indices and things like US 30, I definitely think it'll be very easy to go through data and historical data and come up with settings for gold or US 30 and things like that. So I do plan to work on that Don't go dragging and dropping GearBox and Gold or US 30 unless you guys want to lose money with default settings. Just going to put that out there. But we will find, some settings for those as we go on here in the coming weeks. I will tell you that I also do want to start an aggressive GearBox account going into this new year once liquidity picks up, and I will be telling people what I'm doing in that aggressive account. Is it possible it could lose all its money on the aggressive account? Absolutely, but I'm going to document it, and I'm tweaking my ideas for what I believe to be an aggressive account that hopefully will thrive through a lot of the nonsense in the market. But we'll put that out there as well. Mariska said, if you have charts that show -1 and -1 on both sides, have you ran the manager prior to market opening? Run it as soon as the market's open. You'll have no issues then. With some brokers, if you use the manager when the markets are closed, the loading isn't working smoothly. But when the markets are open, no problems. Mariska, that is great information. So for anybody experiencing the problem with the -1 and -1, what she just said is to set up right when the market opens, meaning use the manager to freshly load GearBox on all the charts once the market opens, as that is solving the problem for some people, as some brokers are the reason that that's happening. Great information, Mariska. Thank you for that. And last question I see here is from Jackie. Do you need to reload GearBox or anything to update, or the updates auto? Jackie, the updates will be auto. Anytime we roll out an update, it should automatically, within 6 hours of us rolling it out, reboot your VPS and have the file automatically installed. There is occasionally a time where, because MT4 can sometimes be glitchy on reboots or updates, especially when you're running a lot of charts, sometimes you might notice it closes one chart out, or GearBox doesn't load on one of your 25 charts if you're running all 25 pairs or whatever you may be doing. There are occasional things like that, but for the most part, updates are fully automatic. There's no, needing of much from you on that end. Just verify that once we roll it out, that yours updated and that everything looks correct. But with that being said, I do not see any more questions going forward. So again, I'm going to look forward to working hard the rest of the day to hopefully get us an update out after market close, so that we can go into a brand new year with updates to the manager, with updates to GearBox. And then, like I said, over all of January, you're going to see tons of enhancements to the manager and GearBox itself to speed itself up and totally enhance your user experience and your customization options. But with that being said, thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in on this beautiful morning, or for some people, it may already be the evening or afternoon, as we are a global business here. But thanks again for being with us, and to a prosperous 2021, and Happy New Year.